Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Asher Marketing Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Asher Agency, a full-service marketing agency with offices in Indiana, West Virginia, and Washington, D.C. For nearly 50 years, Asher has helped our clients tell their stories, reach customers and prospects, and stand out from the crowd. To learn more about how we can help your company, visit asheragency.com or contact us at hello@asheragency.com. My guest is Emily Land. Emily, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for doing this on somewhat short notice. I am interested in hearing what's happening in the world of social media. So as our listeners may know by now, occasionally we invite Asher's subject matter experts on the podcast to talk about what's going on in their world. And Emily, your world is social media, so we're going to talk about some social media stuff. How's that?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, so by the time this is out in the world, we're most of the way through 2025, and people's attention is starting to turn toward the holidays. And that includes retailers who are thinking about, how am I going to compete? Black Friday, holiday sales, all those things. And social is obviously a big part of that. So in your work with our clients and in your mind as a social media expert, what are you thinking about when it comes to using social during the holidays for retailers?
Yeah, I think that a great purpose that social media can serve is not only celebrating big events like holidays, but really celebrating things like grand openings or, product launches.
Yeah.
So anything that's like a big event, a timely event that you want to create some hype around, teasers, social media does a great job for that because you have an audience that you can tap into ahead of time and kind of create a campaign that is going to get them excited for what's coming. And what is more exciting than the holidays and Christmas time and all of those things. So using social media to create excitement about the holidays is great. And, we have a lot of different B2C customer or clients that we can really talk to their customers and get them excited for this time. We do this in a lot of different ways with different giveaway campaigns or just creating that buzz of this is an exciting time. Let's make it even more exciting and celebrate with the community that we've created on these platforms.
Yeah. So you mentioned giveaways. And I think, when you're looking to get people's attention, obviously giving them the prospect of something for nothing is a good way to get their attention. But I know some of the clients I've worked with over the years, they're a little reluctant to discount or do giveaways. What are some other things that brands can do to get attention? Because, you've got Black Friday, you have Small Business Saturday, but they're so cluttered, everyone's kind of talking over each other. So how do you stand out in that environment? Discounts are a great way, but what are some other options for making a splash during that time?
Yeah, I think a trend that we're just seeing in general on social media is pushing things that have to do with creating that authentic community that you're building. So a lot of the time, people are looking for those follower metrics.
Yeah.
And that is a great thing that happens when you're doing things like giving things away.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of followers coming in because you're asking them to perform X to get Y. Like, follow us to enter in this giveaway and win this thing. Comment on this post. So you're seeing those things with giveaways, which is great. But a way that giveaways serve that purpose of creating your community. People are excited and you're giving back to them. So that's great. You're serving that purpose of, having the community in that way. But also just doing things like interactive posting, asking your audience to comment memories that they've had at your, place of business or that they what are the types of memories that this thing makes you think of? And just really tapping into the nostalgia of the season, building community togetherness. There is something there that every type of brand can really tap into.
For sure. And I think, the distinction that I sometimes see is that, if you're talking at the audience, that's a little different than allowing them to be part of the story. Because if they're part of the story, then it becomes their story too. And they're going to want to share that content. They're more likely to engage. And as you mentioned, I think giveaways can help do that. But sometimes people only interact with the brand for the purpose of the giveaway. and the brand's never going to see them again. So it's not to say people shouldn't do giveaways, but I think you've shared some good examples of other things that brands can do that may have a more lasting effect on, their relationships with the community and the bottom line. So let's talk a little bit more about this idea of community, because way back when social media was first a thing, that was kind of the idea, right? We were going to create these little virtual communities that would complement our real world community, so to speak. And, in my mind, we kind of got away from that, where it became just another medium where brands were kind of talking at customers. What I hear you saying is maybe it's time to return to some of that, to really think about depth of connection with those followers instead of just talking at them. So, easy question to ask, hard question to answer. How do you do that? How do you build that community in a way that's going to get the audience to stay with you? You've mentioned nostalgia. You've mentioned letting them be part of the story. What else can you do?
Yeah, so I think that we're seeing the platforms actually pushing exactly what you just said, that authentic connection community, rolling out these different features that feel very interactive. So they're giving us the tools to tangibly connect with our audience in a way that we haven't been before by giving new tools on the apps. So things like, like interactive scrolly dot posts and hold 2 times speed to listen to this video quicker. But also, things like things that we've been utilizing for one of our clients who has had a great success in this area, because our goal for the year, they're having this big anniversary celebration. Our goal is, how can we really foster that sense of nostalgia, community, and connection while celebrating this big milestone? Like, let's think about back, when we started this and all the memories that we've made along the way, that whole thing. So along with our giveaways, one way that we've really kind of married the two of we truly want to be giving back to this community is asking people to enter the giveaway by commenting old pictures of them at this spot.
Yeah.
It's turned out really cool. We got this awesome retro picture of a picture with this old Honda Civic parked in front of like one of the oldest joint with their old branding. It was so cool, and it seriously blew up. It was our highest performing post that we've seen organically for the year. Yeah. So that was just a very cool singular example, but there were a bunch of other photos that we got on that post. Yeah. Just people very excited to celebrate the memories they've made here. Yeah. So there's a lot of creative ways that you can, be super intentional about, hey, we're doing these giveaways, but we want to tap into this community that the brand has already built. Yeah. We're just figuring out how we can bring it to social media.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's pivot for a second and talk about brands other than retailers, maybe B2B brands, right? Because they're still trying to generate engagement and they're still trying to communicate with their followers at a time when people are really focused on other things. So if you're a B2B brand, can you do some of those same things, or what should they be doing during the holidays to stay relevant?
Well, during the holidays, it's very typical to see kind of a drop of engagement for some of those B2B brands. Yeah. So, not shooting for the stars in terms of wanting huge social media growth, but maybe this isn't holiday specific, but a great way that you can interact with your audience, specifically on LinkedIn, but you can copy this format in different platform specific ways, is just putting out polls and questions and asking your follower base, you want to be, I like to say that you like to be a host spot for conversations about your industry. So you're hosting those conversations, creating poll questions with some answers saying, if you have some other ideas, drop these in the comments. Yeah. But then taking this a step further by then following up and talking to your audience about these topics that they clearly have shown interest in, or they have said these things are important to us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really love that. And you have worked on something for a client we work together on, where you did the poll, and then we use the results of that poll to create a post later down the line. So it's, one of the things I think for social media managers is, how do you make your job easier while still posting content that's going to be relevant? So something like that, using a poll not just as a one-time opportunity, but saying, What did we learn from that? Let's share back with the audience what they said and then invite more conversation. And who knows, you might even have a third post come out of all that. So I love that idea of, for B2B brands who might not have a product or a discount to promote during the holidays, doing some things that are still interactive and engaging. Another thing too, I'll circle back to, this was something we did for a client a couple of years ago. You mentioned that nostalgia and those photos that, sort of tug at people's heartstrings. I love the idea. We've done this for clients and it may be a little played out, but sharing photos of your team members when they were kids, holiday experiences, kids, babies, dogs, cats, it all works really well on social media. So if there's a way
you can never go wrong with those categories on social media. I mean, I'm a victim of this. I love those types of posts and makes you smile.
Yeah. Well, and one thing you said that I think is important to highlight is maybe have realistic expectations around the holidays. People's minds are going to be on other things. Not that you should just concede that, the audience isn't there, but don't expect those are going to be your boom times. And, maybe say, all right, we're going to save some of our more dynamic stuff for after the first of the year when people are more willing to give us our attention. Something else you mentioned that I want to circle back to is you talked about the platforms encouraging users to try new features. And it's something that I've seen, quite a bit of. You've probably seen even more of it, where if there's a new feature or a feature that the platform's trying to promote, they will sort of coach you through using it and then favor that in the algorithm so that people are more likely to use those tools. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing along those lines.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, they're going to teach you how to use it, prompt you to use it, promote it with boosting those types of posts in the algorithm. So they're really giving you the playbook of how to be successful on this platform.
Yeah.
So, you should be listening to those cues. So, for example, on LinkedIn, it's been a little bit surprising to see the huge push of vertical video, which trying to be similar to, TikTok and Instagram and these other platforms where vertical video is really, really king. Mm-hmm. So, it's interesting. LinkedIn has been putting out video series on their own LinkedIn account. LinkedIn's LinkedIn account. That's a mouthful. Just collaborating with different brands and basically telling you this is how you should be doing content. So there's a series where they're collaborating with different brands. The one that comes to mind is collaboration with American Express CEO. Mm-hmm. He's just talking about, how do you coach small businesses in X, Y, or Z? Super short. I think it's surprisingly short. It's less than 20 seconds.
Wow.
And it's just a really quick bite-sized piece of content. Yeah. Which is also kind of hinting at the fact that this is going to be a bingeable series. If they're short, it's like, expect more of these to come, and you could sit there and watch 6 of them and not feel like you've wasted your entire day. And, that's what they're trying to get you to do. So things like that, which I think is surprising, but always staying keen on those little new features in the algorithm. For example, Instagram you can now repost, which is similar to like a retweet that, we are all familiar with that icon. Mm-hmm. It's a similar icon. So, they're saying, hey, post these really relatable, down to earth style posts as a big brand because we want other people, we want you to be encouraging other people to repost. Yeah. So, just really nailing into that authenticity, kind of almost, UGC feel of posts. Like I resonated with this so much that I reposted it on my own account.
Yeah. So UGC, for the non-experts out there, is user-generated content. So you live in that world all the time. The acronyms are familiar to you.
Yeah, thanks.
What's interesting about LinkedIn to me, I've always been sort of a LinkedIn nerd. And one of the things I like about LinkedIn is they're seemingly not afraid to try stuff. And if it fails, they'll just cut it and move on. Because at one point in the not so distant past, LinkedIn had LinkedIn Stories. Everybody kind of laughed about it. It's like LinkedIn's trying to be, like TikTok. And it didn't work, and they shuttered it. But what they're doing now is kind of LinkedIn Stories. They're just not calling it that. And I think it's more the right moment because people have gotten so used to short video. It doesn't seem out of place on LinkedIn. I think it takes a little bit of getting used to, but people are so used to it in other platforms that I think LinkedIn is, right to try to capitalize on it now, whereas maybe a couple of years ago, not so much.
Yeah, I think that they're just taking the cue of this is how people are used to, absorbing content, that we should just be playing to that because hopefully, this is familiar. I'm going to sit and watch vertical videos, maybe more than this horizontal video that's 2 minutes long feels kind of daunting after scrolling on Reels for 2 hours. So
I'm going to throw a little curveball at you, something we didn't talk about before we hit record. What do you think brands need to do in order to create engaging video content on LinkedIn? Because LinkedIn can be kind of boring, right? It's a lot of talking heads sharing their expertise. What do you think makes a brand stand out on that platform? And what might other brands learn from that?
That's a great question. And this is a conversation I feel like I've been having recently with some clients and just kind of advising different different brands on LinkedIn about that. You have to feel like it's it should feel authentic. I keep saying this and it's like sounding very cliche, but I truly mean it.
Well, it'd be an error of omission if you didn't, because there's a lot of people who think of it as advertising, and it's really not.
It's really not. Yeah. Social media should not be purely promotional content in your face. It should, specifically on LinkedIn for video, you should be getting people in front of the camera who work in your organization, who are in leadership roles, who aren't, capturing authentic thoughts. Maybe they're giving advice about something. Maybe they're talking to you about their daily routine. People are curious, what does a day in the life of you look like? We're seeing that big turn from I'm sitting in front of a camera and talking about something and I've practiced these lines a lot.
I'm clearly reading a script as my eyes go across the teleprompter. Yeah. So let me ask a question about that. And I have a bias here. I don't want to reveal it yet. But do you think video, and let's say in this case for LinkedIn, do you think it should be scripted or do you think it's better when it's not?
Well, I grew up in a generation where nothing I've probably ever consumed has been scripted type of thing. So for me, it's a lot more inviting to watch videos that I'm like, oh, this person is just talking. And 100%. It's interesting to get to know this person, not I'm getting to know whatever their brand manager wanted me to get to know. I think it's more personal and interesting. I think people are always going to be interested about people and things that are actually happening. But telling stories in a way, it's like, oh, this feels like this is what's actually happening.
Well, and it sounds like a human, right? So this is hitting all kinds of nerd neurons in my mind. But one of the problems with scripted content is that people today have really well-attuned BS meters. When I was your age, a million years ago, most of the content we were consuming was scripted. It was delivered by people who were paid to deliver the message. It was scripted. It was Hollywood production values. And that worked out okay because it was the majority of what we saw. Today, people are seeing constantly in their newsfeed posts from people like you and me, which have a lot of rough edges. But it's authentic because it has the rough edges. And if they see something scripted in that environment, they go, if they're trying to sell me something, I'm gonna move away from that and towards the stuff that seems like it's coming from a human. So I really encourage people, know your content, practice a little bit, but don't be so robotic that it sounds like a script, because if it does, no one's paying attention.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I don't know that I could recall a single viral post I've seen in the last year that feels very promotional or very scripted.
Yeah, for sure.
They're always just super fun, super authentic. A lot of the times, accidentally viral. That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, I worked so hard on all of these posts, and the ones that do best, sometimes you could never predict. But that's kind of the beauty of it, you know? If you can understand a brand really well, sometimes these posts that you're putting out, you're like, oh, this just feels right, and I don't really know why. That's kind of the sense that you have to tune as a social media manager.
For sure. And it's kind of getting away from, the old model where you had to be perfect when it was for publication. I think the exact opposite is true today. People love a blooper reel. So, if you're comfortable with yourself and you recognize that you make mistakes, as long as it's not anything derogatory or that's going to get your brand in trouble, share your blooper reel. People love it. It'll make you more human and more authentic.
I actually saw this thing recently. a brand was doing this kind of as like an Easter egg joke type of thing, where they would post a reel and the copy on the reel had like a spelling mistake in it, and it was a LinkedIn post that was like reviewing this, and they said it started as a mistake from one of our brand managers, whoever, and has ended as one of our most viral series. It's because people aren't commenting like, oh, you spelled this wrong. And then they started to do it more and more. Yeah. And it became like a thing where they'd spell things really funny to have like a double entendre or like a really funny idea. And that was like a little campaign that they ran. Yeah. But things like that.
And you see a lot more of brands kind of owning their mistakes. Again, not when it's problematic mistakes, right? But when they do things that are human, you see brands kind of doubling down on that.
Yeah.
And, they make a spelling error in a post that goes out to millions of people. They'll come back to that and use that in a way that is human and that's, humorous and gets the right type of engagement. So we don't have to hide from our imperfections anymore, I guess. So, all right. So that's great advice on the video side, on the B2B side. A broad question for you. In terms of what inspires you when you're trying to get ideas for clients, obviously some of that is organic. It's based on that specific client. But where do you go and what inspires you that you're seeing from other brands? Yeah,
that's a great question. Different for every single brand in every industry. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if we're talking some of our food or restaurant clients, there is some great content out there that's very funny and very memey, and maybe not everyone understands it, but I think the beauty comes from mixing a little bit of this inspo that you're getting from over here, of this memey content that feels like super raw and low production, with some like really nice photography, with some having that really good spread, I think is what makes a great social media account. You see a lot of companies kind of finding their niche and maybe only posting that meme content. My advice is always, I see those, I'm like, they're performing so well, but that is not what they should be doing, because I think it speaks to the brand if you can say, like, I understand this brand so well that I can talk from this brand voice in a meme. I can talk from this brand voice in a beautifully, laid out photo shoot, all of these different styles. So I think you can really flex if you can do all of the different things. And that kind of really makes an impression on your audience too, if it truly feels the same in different, dressed up differently.
Well, and as is true with most things, the key is knowing your audience, right? And knowing you do want to challenge the conventional norms a little bit, but you got to know your audience and what's going to fly with them. Knowing that there's some places where you can take more risks than others, and social is a great place to push those limits a little bit.
I agree. That's another great point you made. I love when clients are wanting to push it a little bit, maybe tap into a different area. Always still doing that gut check of, okay, does this feel right? I keep saying that, but it's a sense you have to develop. But just kind of taking risks and having fun with it. It's social media after all. People are coming to get that impression of your brand in a different way than just from your billboards or from other places where you're trying to have that more professional.
For sure. And very little of it is on your permanent record, so to speak.
There you go.
You don't want to take it so far that you become a meme because you did something that didn't make a lot of sense. But you can push it, and if it doesn't work, on to the next day, on to the next post. So let's talk a little bit about some of the work you're doing here at Asher. What are some of your favorite things you've worked on recently for clients?
Yeah, great question. My favorite thing always is just brainstorming different ideas for Reels. And this sounds so funny, but I live in a TikTok rabbit hole sometimes. But I love brainstorming different ideas for Reels for our clients. So we plan out content as far in advance as we can. We like to get that, good wireframe set out. But my favorite thing to do, I'm notorious for it, is moving things around at the last minute, making things difficult for everyone, because there's this awesome trend that we just have to tap into.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you saw recently the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce engagement, and every brand was somehow tapping into it, a lot of food brands, a lot of different brands. And so we were able to actually tap into that brand for one of our clients as well, which was so much fun. We just got to make a meme of Taylor and Travis and put little text bubbles over that made it relevant for them. And we had great engagement on that. It was super fun. So doing things like that, I love, keeping the pulse on the social media world, and being able to always plug and play with posts that, are timely.
Yeah. So here's a funny story about that. So a couple weeks ago at the time of this recording, I celebrated an Asher anniversary, and I posted about it, and I used the goofiest of the posed Asher photos that I have, where I'm doing this stupid dancey thing. And I was like, this will get a reaction because it's goofy. People who know me know I'm a goofball. Going back to, try some stuff. Don't be so serious. That was kind of the idea. Mm-hmm. Well, it got a really good response. But what was funny about it is some people who know me turned that photo into a sticker. And one of them,
it lives on.
one of them put the sticker over the Travis and Taylor photo where, they're getting engaged and I'm in the background doing this.
I saw this on LinkedIn.
So I was like, I'm going to post that. And that got a good response.
So funny.
So it's I am the least trend-aware person you're ever going to meet. But I was like, even I can jump on this one and maybe get some engagement out of it.
Yeah. So funny when brands do that. I saw one recently too. It was a company using the new Cracker Barrel logo, font, colors, and said, put their company name over it and said, how do you guys like our new logo? And this is a super industrial company. They don't have a lot of followers, and their industry is very, sterile feeling, serious, professional, industrial. And this post had so many reactions. I'm like, I love that. It's it's funny, it's timely, and
So let me ask you this, another tough question. How do you stay on top of that stuff? Is it just a skill that you either have or you don't? But if brands want to be more aware of some of those moments that they can capitalize on, how do you recommend doing that?
Yeah. Two answers. Well, one, if you listen to my other podcast, you know this already. I'm chronically online, and I just am always scrolling and consuming too much content for the sake of I'm doing it for work. So, I'm online, so I kind of know what's going on. But other than that, there's a lot of Facebook groups that I'm in. Okay. I'm on Reddit, reading up sometimes. And sometimes I'm learning trends that I hadn't heard of yet from those places as well. So, and, another great idea for companies, start your own Facebook groups and conversations and be the host for those. But, tapping into the community of people who do what I do can sometimes be very helpful when you feel like I'm the social media manager here at Asher and no one else lives in my world.
Yeah. Well, and if you don't want to do that work, hire Asher, hire Emily, and she'll pay attention for you. I want to go to bat for. I want to go to bat for. Do it for the people. I want to go to bat for Reddit as a great source of what's current now, what's getting people's attention. That's really what it is. And it's not just kind of at the macro level, here's everything in the world people are paying attention to. I've started when I have a question about something happening locally, I'll go to that subreddit and I learned so much there that isn't going to be in the traditional news. It's not going to be on most social media. And I think it's the nature of Reddit that it's very conversational, it's very user-driven, and it's very real, which is a great place to find information. It's also a great place to find inspiration for whatever you do. You just got to find the right subreddits.
This is so true. I think people are oversharing on there because it's also anonymous. I listen to the Crime Junkies podcast all the time, and they're solving crimes because of people posting on Reddit about things.
For sure.
aside from that, yeah, I think people are just super eager to share what they know on Reddit, and that's why it can be a goldmine for keeping on top of things that are quick turn like social media.
100%. People want to be the source of things that people discover and love, and that's what Reddit does well. So yeah, this podcast is not brought to you by Reddit. So yeah. All right. Well, Emily, thanks. This has been great. I really appreciate you taking some time to update us on what's happening in the wonderful world of social media. Anything else that's important to you that you want to share?
No, but I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. And thanks to everyone who took the opportunity to listen to this episode of the Asher Marketing Podcast. We'll be back with another great guest, hopefully another great expert like Emily sometime soon, and we hope you'll join us then. The Asher Marketing Podcast is a production of Asher Agency, a full-service agency for franchises and co-ops, colleges and universities, financial service companies, healthcare organizations, and government agencies. We'll be back next time with another great guest, and we hope you'll join us then.